like to party, party, party all night long. Party, party, we like to party, 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 never go home.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to episode 27 of the Ball Talk Pod. Today we got our news of the week, and then we get to recap maybe the least fun basketball game the Thunder have played this year outside of maybe the NBA Cup that didn't count. This game actually did count. But we got a couple of duds we're going to discuss and whether or not that's something Thunder fans should be worried about with the playoffs just a week away. But first, news of the week. Chris, take it away, man.
News of the week. In the NCAA, the Florida Gators and the Houston Rockets will compete for the national championship tomorrow night as the end of March Madness comes to a historic end with two number one seeds going at it. Hasn't happened since 2008. And they were kind of interesting games, Ben. Don't you think? That, Florida had to come back from, a large deficit. Down 9 at halftime. And then Duke essentially fumbled away a game in the last 45 seconds. I mean, it's just crazy basketball. Finally, good basketball in March Madness. We get to see two really good teams. Former OU coach Calvin Sampson's Houston Cougars go against the Florida Gators, who have looked like one of the best teams all year. So it'd be a really fun game to watch on Monday. Not much to it. On the girls' side, they had their national championship today, and it looks like OU ran into a buzzsaw. They ran into face first right into a buzzsaw because the UConn Huskies dominate South Carolina and win 82 to something. 82, by 20 points or whatever. So it was a really, really, really strong performance from Paige Buchers as they win another national championship in Connecticut. Ben, what's your news?
Well, first of all, it was 82 to 59, so it was a straight up blowout for the women's team.
The national championship game feels bad. Even OU kept it closer than that.
Correct. And even so, the UConn women's team, they played South Carolina earlier this year and also beat them by 20 plus. So South Carolina, for as good as they've been in women's basketball, might still have a bit of a UConn problem, which most women's teams do, including ours. And touching on your points about the men's side of the tournament, the Duke game was amazing. That was awesome.
Truly good.
I hate Duke. I hate them.
You are
never want
a
anything.
lifelong Kansas fan, so
I think Coach
understand
K.
Where your hate is
I don't
from.
like Coach K. I think he's very me first and very snobby about basketball, and that carried over into his team, and that carries over into Duke fans. And it does not bug me one bit that they have had 32 5-stars in the last 10 years and have not won a national championship.
Ben, how many times have Kansas won a national championship in that time span?
Once.
Wow.
And fun fact for all of you that are a little bit slower at math, that's one more.
That's one more.
Than
That'd be
the
me.
Duke
I'm
Blue
slower
Devils.
at math than Ben.
But yeah, there's my little Duke tangent. I loved watching that game. Calvin Sampson, it's really cool to see him do what he's doing. I wish he was doing it in Norman still. But just a couple extra text
100%.
messages and phone calls are the reason that he is no longer here. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But shout out to the Houston Cougars and the Florida Gators. That's going to be a great game on Monday. I'm pretty pumped to watch that, actually. And from the depths of the bottom of our bracket challenge, if the Gators win, I get second place. So
You get second place?
yeah, which sucks because I want Houston to win.
Yeah, I'd much rather Houston win. Then Calvin Sampson can come home and win a national championship at OU.
Yeah, and back-to-back years. It's going to be crazy.
Back-to-back years.
We have the script.
Crazy.
Ball Talk has the script. But yeah, good tournament. Big game coming up tomorrow night. My news of the week, and probably the only thing that would make me want or feel the need to talk about hockey on this podcast, is that Alex Ovechkin has surpassed Wayne Gretzky's all-time most goals scored record. He did that this weekend. He is now 895, and Gretzky, who is basically completely considered the absolute best player that's ever skated on the ice, had 894. And It's a record that stood for over 30 years, something that people didn't think would happen.
It's called the unbreakable record.
Yeah. I mean, it's for someone that doesn't understand hockey, I understand that this is a big deal.
A big deal.
And I love that he broke the record and then immediately cracked a cold one in the locker room afterwards. Little Coors Light for him.
Nico Harrison would have taken that beer away from him.
Yeah. Thank goodness he doesn't play in Dallas, or else he wouldn't have even
traded a long time.
He would have been traded. Yeah.
Ben,
but yeah,
you know
shout out to
something
Ovechkin.
interesting about that stat?
What is it?
It took Alex Ovechkin. No. It took Wayne Gretzky 1,487 games, 1,487 games to reach 894 goals, which is a really, he did that. He played a long time and, was able to reach that number. It took Alex Ovechkin 1,487 games, 1,487 games to reach 895 goals. So they played the same amount of games, and Alex Ovechkin scored one more goal in that time period. Pretty crazy.
People just got to play that many games. I mean,
it sounds like it. That's a magic number to score.
And also be the most talented player possible.
Right. And just a goal scorer.
There's a bit of a recipe there.
Now, do you think he's going to try to go for, you think he's going to play another year, try to go for 900, make it just like put it out of reach even farther?
I am a big proponent of credibility and knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know. I have no idea. Okay. I know nothing about hockey.
How old is Alex Ovechkin?
I think he's 39.
Oh my gosh. So it's similar to LeBron passing Kareem. They both didn't he do it at 39?
It was like 37 or 38. That was the year the Thunder made the play-in.
So right. You're right. It's been 2 years. Okay. Something magical with that 38, 39 range, though.
Yeah, I can't wait to get there.
Finally,
it's going to be a great year.
Record. It's the year I'll break a record.
Yeah, you never know. Might break 80 that year on the golf course. You never know.
Whoa! Or Ben might shoot the lowest round of all time and shoot a 40.
18.
Yeah,
call my shot. You never know. Shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars. But with that being said, we're going to talk about some Thunder basketball. And starting off with that, I know they played earlier today. They're currently on a 2-game losing streak. But last we talked to you, the Thunder were gearing up for the Josh Giddey-led Bulls to come into town on Monday night. And it was cool to see him come into play. The Thunder won big. A game that never was at all in doubt.
Right.
And then they followed that up with another game on Wednesday against the Detroit Pistons on ESPN without Cade Cunningham in that game. That also was pretty much never in doubt. The Pistons made a little bit run at the end, but it still never felt like the Thunder were going to lose. And those were the good games of the week because after those 2 games, and for a team that some thought were chasing 70 wins, and technically were, the stretch that people knew they had to get through if they wanted a chance, that they had to win out. And they were on an 11-game winning streak, so they already had a stretch of really good basketball, like beating good teams. But they went to Houston on Friday night, mostly healthy. Isaiah Joe did not play in that game, but they lost to the Houston Rockets 125-111 to snap that 11-game winning streak. Shea's 20-point scoring stretch looked like it was in jeopardy, but he came back and in that game surpassed Michael Jordan for the most 20-point games in a row in a regular season since the merger. So there's still records out there to be chased, held by Wilt Chamberlain, but it was so long ago that before the NBA and ABA merged, that's when Wilt was doing it.
Every record has like records to be chased because Wilt Chamberlain did everything and scored the most amount of points ever. He averaged 50 one season. There are records.
Yeah, I know he didn't win as much, but it's kind of crazy that Wilt's not more so in the GOAT
greatest
talk
of all time. Yeah, especially with how many records he's held.
Yeah, and still hold.
Right.
But in that game, Shea ended up with 22. He didn't shoot well. He shot 2 free throws, 1 of 6 from 3, 10 of 22 from the field, 8 assists. He played fine. Dub played fantastic. He had 33 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. Really took on a lot of the scoring load. But when you look at the team, I'm looking at the box score of the Thunder, and you have Chet with 20, which was a great sign. Dub with 33, Hartenstein with 16, Shea with 22. and then I'm going to read off the rest of the players that played in this game. And I'm not going to give names, but the rest of them went 2 points, 0 points, 3 points, 3 points, 2 points, 8 points, 2 points.
That's not going to get it done, Ben.
No, it is not. And the Thunder shot 37% from 3 that game. A respectable number, 13 of 35, but definitely something that you want to see closer to 40. And in the playoffs, it's going to have to be at or above 40, in my opinion. Going against a Houston team that hit the same number of threes, they hit 13 as well, but 29 total attempts for 44%. Jalen Green was hot. He had 34. Alperen Sengun, a bum, according to our loyal listener, Keegan Neese. And then Alperen Sengun, 31 points. Yeah. They hit timely shots. The Thunder just, I wouldn't say they were coasting. And I'm not going to use that as an excuse for a team that always seems to say that, you know, their effort and that they take each day as a new day, regardless of what the record is, where they are. But they've been the 1 seed for 2 weeks, and you can kind of see that might be just that edge isn't there quite as much. But do you have any thoughts on any game this past week and the Rockets game in particular?
I think for the Rock, I think you're right. I think it's human nature to go against. Essentially, they're just like playing against themselves, trying to get better every day. So it's human nature to be, I wouldn't say lackadaisical, but some of it is like, does it really matter if we lose this game? You know, and they've said outright that they don't care about like the different records. Like they don't care that they, only lost 1 game against the Eastern Conference. They said that's a record for us, the fans. So it's like at some point, it slips into their head that they are the 1 seed and nothing's going to change that. And so a part of me thinks that you're right. There is some of that slipping into their mind, but is it an excuse? No. And they've fought this whole season to get ready for the playoffs, and that doesn't seem very playoff ready to me.
And obviously we'll get into the Laker game that just happened today, which was honestly felt worse than the Rockets game. It's just that time of year where it's like, you know, it's human nature. I know that the Thunder don't want to put it up to that. Like we said, I mean, they're a process over results. That's what they preach all the time. The Houston game was fine. Houston always treats us like a Super Bowl, which, I mean, I get it. We're the best team in the league right now. At least in terms of record, regardless of biasness or not, that is fact. And Houston played well, and you know they're an interesting matchup. They're the 2 seed for a reason. They've been one of the stories of the NBA this year with their just astronomical rise from not even in the play-in last year to now the 2nd seed. And it's not to say that they're a very good basketball team, and they showed it. And that's just the reality of the NBA. If you don't bring it, then especially. Like we said, we've had the 2 seed or the 1 seed locked up for 2 weeks now. And all these like Houston hasn't even technically locked in the 2 seed. I think they will today with how some of the
matches are going out.
The matches. Like it's like we're talking about tennis.
Hey, we're talking about the soccer match.
Yeah. But I mean, they still have stuff to play for, and they also want to show that, you know, they're not afraid of us. And no one technically should be at this point. Because I think, you know, we'll get into it more with the Lakers talk. All the national media and everything like that, especially after this Lakers game that just happened, there's going to be a lot of talk about how the Thunder are a great regular season team and nothing's going to come of it.
Right.
And they can say that, and they acknowledge that they are a great regular season team. They haven't acknowledged it to the extent that they should. But they are absolutely right in that they have not done anything outside of that. Like, that's true. And if you're a Thunder fan, although you want to like coast to a championship and you'd love to just get one, Lord knows we all do. But until they go and do it, all of those narratives are correct.
Right.
So it's just reality. It's not a problem. It's just where we're at.
It's the truth. And you're totally right. I think the narrative, and I heard someone say the other day that like, and if they go and win the championship, the narrative will totally change. Right. If they go and win this year, the narrative's like no one was scared of the Thunder. It's going to be, of course, the Thunder won. They were the best. It was a historic regular season. So like
they had the MVP. They had like all these things that checked it off. But there's been teams in the past that had that and didn't do anything with it.
Right. But like when you think about like being a prisoner of the moment, most sports fans are a prisoner of the moment where they're like, it just happened, so we're gonna lose to the Lakers. We can't beat any of these good teams in a playoff series. And I just don't think that's to be true. I would caution to like, relax. There's still everything this team wants is ahead of them. The playoffs haven't even started. They just need to, and who knows, maybe this Rockets game and this Lakers game will kind of turn the knobs and they'll be like, all right, we have to bring it every night. Because I think these last two games specifically, like you said, both these teams have things to play for. And both these teams came out and hit the Thunder in the mouth. They threw the first punch and the second punch, and the Thunder were on their heels the whole game. And it's a lesson that the Thunder have been doing that all season, and they have to continue to do it. Now that they're at the top, now that they're one seed, they can't coast to a championship like you're talking about. They still have to come out.
They can coast this regular season.
Right.
Like that's
100%.
I'm not saying it's the mentality, but they absolutely, I mean, they have 64 wins right now. That's the most in the NBA in the last, 4 or 5 years already, with 4 games to go, and 3 of them are almost guaranteed wins.
2 games to go. 3 games to go.
You have the Lakers, the Suns, the Pelicans, and the Jazz.
You're right. I thought it was 2. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
Shoot. Cut the podcast. We got to restart.
Podcasters can't admit they're wrong, Ben. That's rule number 1.
We're never wrong.
You got to double down or just change the narrative completely.
Yeah.
But I don't like losing, specifically these two teams.
I always hated losing to the Lakers.
I don't like losing
even
to
2
the
years
Lakers.
ago. Hated it.
I don't like losing to Luka. He's just smug. He's another one of them bums. But it's just I would just caution, not to be a prisoner of this moment, just to relax. The regular season hasn't ended. The playoffs are a fresh start.
Well, let's talk about the Lakers game. Let's just get into it, because I feel like we're like almost our reactions are more so resulting in that game. And we haven't even talked about it yet. But the Thunder lost this afternoon in the Paycom Center for the first time, the Luka-led Lakers, 126-99 in a game that never really felt close.
No.
And in a game that, if you told me the Lakers didn't miss a single 3 in the first half, I would have believed you. They shot 22 of 40. They hit 15 in the first half, which set a franchise.
15 of 22, right?
15 of 20, I believe, and one of them was like a half-court heave.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was, and I will say, like, they made really tough threes. Like, they were pulling up from deep. Luka always had a hand in his face. Reeves had a hand in his face. They were making really tough shots, those guys specifically. And now, while some of the other like role players did get easier shots, they were still getting hard closeouts, hand in the face. So it was a really impressive shot making show. And some nights it's just going to be that way in the NBA, regardless if we play the Lakers or if we play the Charlotte Hornets.
This game was the first game since December of 2021 that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did not attempt a free throw.
Yes.
And I say that because, not that I think that, it's preposterous. I don't think there was anything that was just like egregious that they didn't call.
Right.
But it almost feels like this narrative that's just been like beat to a pulp of he's a free throw merchant. All he does is get points from the free throw line has like now trickled in, and like he doesn't get any calls now. He shot 2 free throws against the Rockets. So in his last 2 games, he shot a combined 2 free throws. In that time, I mean, he had 26 today. I mean, he's still a good scorer. Forget good. He's a great scorer. He had 9 assists. I almost felt like in that first half, especially the first quarter, he was definitely table setting more than looking for a shot. And so I don't know if he's like, hey, we have this pretty locked in. I want to get these other guys into a rhythm. Obviously, that didn't work today. But I wonder if I think we would see a different Shai in a play. Like, there's been games this year, like the first Nuggets game, the first of the third meeting, but that Sunday game against the Nuggets on the first night of a back-to-back where we played them both games.
Yeah.
You could tell in that first game, Shai was like, this is my game. I'm going to go score 45 and we're going to win.
Mhm.
And he gets in that. He doesn't do that all the time. And he said, as we've discussed before, that he's very much aware that he's not going to win a championship by himself and he needs others around him to perform to get to what he wants and win that championship. But I don't know. It just felt like today, I wouldn't say he was passive, but he was more so looking to set others up than hunt his shot.
I
He
think
still
you're
shot
right.
23 times, but
I think, and it's
Um,
probably part of like, and I mean, this is not an excuse, but the Lakers, to me, look like they schemed a lot on offense and defense. They were like a good team does.
they treated that like a playoff game.
They were
They were
hunting
like, we have to go win
mismatches.
this.
Right. They were hunting mismatches. They were like playing, a different scheme defensively. We didn't hit a crazy amount of shots, but we shot 32%, and that number has to rise, substantially in the playoffs. But the Lakers seem to be scheming a lot, and I think Mark didn't really want to show much of what they do defensively on Luka.
Why would you? Why would you?
Right.
I was almost for sitting people today, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't. I think there's a good chance we sit people on Tuesday because we play the
I think we
Lakers
should.
again.
I think we should. But they specifically for the scheme, like you tweeted this out that in the playoffs last year, Lou Dort was like sewed into Luka's hip. He was Luka's Siamese twin.
He
the
was
whole
in his
playoffs.
jersey. He was
Right.
in his jersey the whole time.
And today we switched out, and he got Hartenstein a bunch on switches.
And
like-
Chet.
And
Like,
they
any-
just like
any big.
and there was no help over. I think Mark was like, let's see how these guys can guard Luka. And so Luka was able to get to his shots a lot earlier in the game. And that's one
They
thing I
had
don't
tough
think
ones
happened.
too. I don't think they did like a terrible job, but they
No,
also
no,
were going up against arguably
That's why,
you know,
yeah.
top 2 or 3 scorer in the league.
Yeah. So
So-
like that's not something I think happens in the playoffs. And so like I much like the games that we won by a ton, this is another game like I'm not going to take much from.
As
a
Mark
fan.
would call it, it's a data point.
Yes.
That's all this is. It's a way for this team to. I'm sure they had things that they tried today, at least to the naked eye, that you can't really tell unless you understand. Like the first thing I noticed was, like you said, like Hartenstein switched out to Luka, and it happened like every possession. It was like this never happened last year. In a game in a series last year, that Lou Dort did a fantastic job on Luka, kept him under his averages. It just was a change in concept, and it's almost like a way that like they just wanted to see how this worked.
Didn't work well.
Well, and the other guys were they just hit a bunch of shots, and that's one thing that the Thunder do. They lead the NBA in, I don't know like the exact name of the stat, but they basically they give up more threes, but to the worst players.
Right.
And when those players hit those shots, a la PJ Washington, a la every single Laker today, it comes back to bite you. But that's also, I mean, like you look at the Celtics last year, they gave up a ton of threes too. That's just you cut off the head of the snake is what you're trying to do. And when the rest of it falls into place, you either look like a genius or, I mean, you're not going to be able to stop every single person in the NBA. It's
They
just
are
not going
in
to happen.
the NBA for a reason.
Yeah. But I just think, I know this game sucks. It wasn't a fun watch. I said I'm going to watch the whole thing just because I want to see if we do anything. I never thought the Thunder were just like far and away out of it. I always was like, we're a 10 point run away from them it being a basketball game.
Yeah.
But every single time we cut it to like 12-ish or something, they'd hit a 3. Like it was just, they did a great job. And it's the same thing that Houston did on Friday night, is that anytime that we had momentum, they would hit a contested 3 and it would just kind of squash that. And we'd have to
Right.
go back to square one.
Yeah. Ben, where I think, I don't know if you agree, but where I see the most like kind of not checked out, but like we're in the 1 seed kind of behavior is on defense when we're a guy's able to get an open shot or, driving the lane. There's more lackadaisical fouls or not closing out. Rotations have slowed down. And so I'm sure that's something they've noticed too. Obviously they have way more basketball knowledge than you and I combined. And I'm sure they are going to ramp that back up. So
Yeah, for sure. One thing I think that's interesting, and I'll ask you on this. They started the double big today against the Lakers, and it's a team that they're a big team, but they don't have like centers. Their forwards are big, their guards are big. I mean, their point guard's Luka, and LeBron can play 2 through 5, 1 through 5. Who are we kidding? But Jackson Hayes is their center. He doesn't scare me at all.
I feel like he didn't play much the second half.
Yeah, honestly, I was to the point where I didn't really worry about their rotations. You're probably right. I mean, he played 13 minutes, so yeah. And then Dorian Finney-Smith played 30. So they definitely adjusted. I just think in the playoffs when you play the Lakers, and it's another thing that I'm like, if I'm Mark, I'm not giving them a look at this, is one, I think you start Kaysen over Hartenstein.
100%.
Because then you have Kaysen, Dort, and Dub to match up to their 3 exceptional ball handlers in LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves.
And you can switch with Shea.
Yeah. And Chet's fine. I don't think we would switch the 5. I think you'd leave him on Jackson Hayes, and if he was the guy screening, you'd have to get through that instead of switch.
Right. Because
and then like another thing,
Jackson Hayes doesn't scare me at the rim.
No, he's fine.
Right.
Like he's like, if he looks good, it's because of Luka. This is the Derek Lively story from last year.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing that I think was interesting, Chet got into some foul trouble early in the second half, which kind of, I mean, they were like 1 foul away from the bonus with like 9 minutes left.
Yeah, I know.
In the third quarter, mainly because of Chet, not because of him particularly, but he had 2 or 3 called on him right off the rip.
Yeah.
Mark never went small. Like he never put Kenrich at the 5 and say, hey, let's go do this, or Dub at the 5. He always had a big in there. And I just think that's another pitch that Mark was like, I'm going to save this for when it matters.
Right.
And so it sucks. The national narrative. I mean, like Shannon Sharp, who I don't even want to say his name because I think he's an idiot.
He's a football player.
He's a football player that gets paid to just say stupid stuff, which is most of ESPN now.
ESPN is.
He's already tweeted out about Lou Dort's irrelevant, Lakers in 5, whatever. I don't care. Until the playoffs, I don't care.
Right.
And if for Thunder fans, listen to your Thunder podcast, especially, the Down to Dunks of the world, the Ball Talk pods of the world.
Yeah, don't go there. Hold on. Let's take a moment. Listen here first, and then go get supplemental information from
OKC Dream Team
for the team.
The beat writers and those that cover it, they're gonna tell it to you straight. They're like, I don't think we have that bias of a beat writing core that covers this team. But if you go watch ESPN or watch any big national podcast or whatever, they're just gonna talk about the Lakers and how the Thunder aren't ready. And guess what? They have the ammunition to talk about it right now, but it doesn't mean it's true. And you also don't have to listen to it. So they play on Tuesday night. We'll see what happens then. Again, I don't know who's going to play on either side. But
when you think about it, I think, this game, let's read a couple stats first. The Lakers went 22 of 40 from 3, 15 of those
franchise record.
15 of those were in, the first half. When they had that substantial lead, they shot 53%. They shot 17 free throws, made 12 of them to the Thunder's 9 of 12. So both kind of bad. They out-rebounded us tonight. I felt like a lot of those were like guard runs that we just didn't block out.
Because they don't really have centers. That's just going to get the rebounds.
And it's another one of those things, those offside rebounds that we just weren't super, locked in to go block out and get those rebounds. They had 25 assists, we had 20, so but obviously you have LeBron and Luka, so they're gonna assist a lot. We just they had 17 turnovers, we had 7 again, so we didn't turn the ball over, and they did, and we just couldn't get it going. So it was a bad watch,
tough game.
But it doesn't mean anything to me
for the long run.
For the long run, everything we want as a team is still ahead of them. And if you've watched,
we could lose out, and that's true,
right? If you watch this team all year, and you're thinking oh, can this team actually beat somebody in the playoffs? you haven't watched this team all year, and like you just like you're a prisoner of the moment, and you just want to like prepare yourself for if or when they lose, right?
Yeah, you're protecting your heart and your
Have some
feelings.
faith
Yeah.
in this team. They've done it all year. They've won 64 games. That's not a fluke. The NBA doesn't let mediocre teams win 64 games. So that's all I have to say about that. But if you think about let's look at the standings, Ben, because the Lakers are in third place, and with this win over the Thunder, it kind
They're
of
game up on Denver.
It puts them a game up on Denver, and kind of like hopefully solidifies them into that opposite side of the bracket. So I prefer it be the Rockets, but Denver and Golden State playing in that 4-5 game to play the 1-18 matchup winner. I don't know. How are you feeling about the current, like if the playoffs started today, how are you feeling about the current setup the Thunder have? So the Thunder would play either the Clippers, the Grizzlies, the Mavericks, or the Kings. And then on the other side of the bracket would be Denver and Golden State. How are you feeling about that side of the bracket?
It's crazy looking at it now because when we started this podcast, and even a couple weeks and months into starting it, when we started looking at this playoff bracket, it looked pristine. You had the Thunder, like whoever the play-in, whatever, I don't care. And the Wolves weren't playing very well. And then you had Houston and Memphis in the 4-5. And you were like, oh, please, end the season now. And now just how things have shaken up, and there's still a lot of things that are going to happen and change this. As long as Minnesota and Golden State are in that 4-5-6 line, and you had the Clippers and the Grizzlies in the 7-8, I don't know how you wouldn't take that as a Thunder fan right now. What's interesting is, one, if you're going to win a championship, you have to go beat good teams.
100%. You can't be scared of anybody.
No. If you're scared of the Lakers after the day, guess what? Silver lining. You just help them get closer to clinching the third seed. I think their magic number for 3, which means they either have to win this number or the teams behind them have to lose that, and some combination of that is 4 with about a week left in the regular season. So they either have to win 4 games or win 2 and the Nuggets lose 2, whatever. Them on the other side of the bracket's fine. They currently match up with Minnesota in the first round. That's a team that I don't want to see. Golden State, Denver, the best part about that as a Thunder fan, that series goes 6 or 7. And it's going to be a battle. So whoever comes out of that, Golden State's playing really well. And they beat Denver last week. I'm not saying you're wrong. I think either team could win. But I just think that would be a fascinating game. That would be regardless of the Thunder playing or not, I would tune in for that series every time they play.
Watch TV for sure.
Yeah. And everybody was like, oh, the NBA is probably hoping that the Lakers and Warriors were 4-5 because then you'd have Steph versus LeBron. But Jokic versus Curry, it's not a bad
butts and seats
consolation prize. Yeah, I don't know. I think the main thing, I think we all think Minnesota, we don't match up. We can, again, this team can play and beat anyone. But in terms of likelihood, I think, you see what the Lakers did today. I don't think they'll shoot that well. I mean, I was looking at this, Chris, just one more thing on the Lakers.
Sure.
Their role players shot, obviously the team shot well today. But you had Dorian Finney-Smith, who had the highest game plus minus at plus 28. At one point, it was plus 35. He shot 4 of 5 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3. All he did was take threes. You had Gabe Vincent, who shot 4 of 7 from 3. And then you go look at the Thunder side. Isaiah Joe was 2 of 5. Wiggins was 0 of 3. Caruso was 1 of 4. In a 7-game series, I like our odds of 4 of those games. Our guys are the ones that are 4 of 5,
100%,
or 3 of 6. And that's, that's the playoffs. That's what happened last year in Dallas. And obviously you scheme things, but the bottom line is whose shots go in and whose shots don't. And that's just basketball. you do what you can to make those shots and to prevent them on the other end. But so it's the NBA. All these guys can hit shots, and you just kind of have to live with it. But yeah, before I got one other thing I want to talk about before we get out of here. But based off of what you see right now, if the playoffs ended today, would you be fine with the standings, or is there anything? I think you'd be fine either way. But is there anything specific that you would want to see change?
I like us versus Denver because they're not a deep team. They've shown that they play their guys a lot of minutes, and Russell Westbrook, and they hit a lot of threes against us to beat us. And that's sort of the recipe to beat us is to hit
the recipe to beat anybody.
To hit a historic number of threes. No, I don't like it. Obviously, there's a lot of tough teams out there, but this would be as long as the Clippers, either got into the 7th seed or fell out of the playoffs, that would be preferable. I think they are like a tough nose to the grindstone team that is just a tough out. I think we'd win the series. I think it's just a tough out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think, I'd be comfortable. And like you said, it doesn't really matter because you have to go and beat good teams in the playoffs. So that would be something we had to do. Is this your preferred now that you've kind of seen how things shake out, or do you still wish Denver was on the other side?
I mean, here's the thing. If Denver was on the other side, you would then have to expect Minnesota to then be on our side. And so it's if they move, we're going to face another tough team.
You don't think Denver would move up. You think Denver would move down.
Oh, you mean if Denver moved to the 3 seed?
Right.
I wouldn't hate it. Again, either or, I could talk myself into worrying about both those teams in terms of a potential matchup. I just think, it's let me see. What does Denver? I don't know if Denver plays today or not. There's a lot of games.
I gotcha.
But
Denver plays the Warriors tonight at 7, or they play the Pacers tonight at 7. They've lost 3 in a row.
Yeah, Denver. That's what I mean. They haven't been playing great. Jokic has looked frustrated. That's why I almost don't anticipate them moving up.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's kind of funny. The Thunder could try to go all out on Tuesday night and be like, okay, we want Denver on the 2-3 side. I would take this. I don't care. Whether it's Lakers or Nuggets in the 3 or the 4. Regardless, the Thunder have the 1 seed. You have to come to Paycom Center hopefully 4 times.
Hopefully,
if you're going to beat us. Hopefully only 2. 3 at max. But it's just something that it's pick your poison. I think it's a lesser of 2 evils almost.
I think that's a really smart and good attitude because, like you said, the Thunder are a good enough team. They can beat anybody. So welcome the challenge.
It always comes down to control what you can control. Marks love saying that.
All right, there you go. Your Mark phrase for the night.
Yeah.
All right, what else do you want to talk about, Ben?
Last thing before we get out of here, I got dinner waiting for me.
What do you got? Pork tenderloin or something?
Oh yeah. We're whipping up some pork. What I want to, it's just a little nugget that I wanted to look at after seeing, the Thunder lose 2 games in the last week last week plus of the season. I looked at the last 3 championship teams to see how their regular season ended. The Boston Celtics last year, who people, again, narrative does not matter now. People thought they were a weak champion last year. They're talking about them
narratives rewrite themselves after the season.
They finished the season last year 6-4 in their last 10. They won their last 2 against the Hornets and Wizards, who were very much tanking. But besides that, they lost at Milwaukee, lost to the Knicks, and they also lost back-to-back games to the Atlanta Hawks. And they were running away with the Eastern Conference last year. And so I'm not saying that they coasted, and obviously I haven't gone back and looked and watched these 10 games. But looking at this, it's okay, they kind of, it's not like they went on a huge high note. The year before, the Denver Nuggets, people were calling them just no chance they can win a championship with how they were playing. They went 5-5 in their last 10. and they lost 5 of their last 7 going into the playoffs. The year they won the championship.
I mean, it's not like something you want to do, but it's nice to have some data to back up that, like, it is the last 10 games of the season. We have the 1 seed locked up.
Yeah,
It's
more
gonna
so
happen.
just to say, like, these games don't matter.
Right. 100%.
When you're locked in. Year before, it was the Warriors. They went in on a 5-game winning streak, but they had lost 4 straight before that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the year before was the Bucks, and they actually went 8-2 in their last 10. But if you remember, they weren't like a 1 seed. They were actually fighting for position in the playoffs that time. So yeah, I just wanted to look at that and just kind of see how the previous champions, hopefully the Thunder join them this year. But I mean, the Thunder have lost 2 games. The national media is going to talk about it because one of them was against the Lakers, and it's not going to feel great. I hope that we go win on Tuesday just for the sake of people's mental health in Oklahoma City and the surrounding area. But even if they lose that game, it is what it is.
They're
And
also,
just
yeah,
wait
I mean,
for the
they're also
playoffs.
going to talk about every loss the Thunder have because it hasn't happened a lot this season. Every other team has lost at least, 20 times. So it's like when the Thunder don't lose, or when the Thunder actually lose one, it's actually news. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So-
And they want to talk about it because there's a chance that the Lakers or the Warriors lost too. But let's talk
Right.
about the Thunder's loss.
Right.
So yeah, Thunder fans, hold on tight. It's going to be a wild ride, not only from here to the end of the regular season, but the playoffs are going to be crazy. There's going to be some great matchups, some great basketball played.
There's also going to be losses.
Yeah,
Let's prepare for a couple losses in the playoffs and not think the sky's falling and the team is no good
which I
anymore.
absolutely did after we lost to Dallas last year in game 2. I was like, oh my gosh, it was our first playoff loss. I kind of,
Yeah, we'd won 5 straight. And
yeah,
then
I was
this-
like, we're coasting. Like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Western Conference Finals are bust, and then all that happened. But it's going to be fun. We're going to be with you the whole time.
yeah, listen in. We'll have some good stuff.
Yeah.
lined
Appreciate
up for you.
everybody listening. We got some stuff cooking up for the playoffs that we think you guys are going to like. And yeah, we'll talk to you next time. Chris, appreciate you coming on as always, man. And yeah, we'll talk to
Yeah.
you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you. We'll talk to you later.
Yep. See ya.
See ya.
All night long, party, party, we like to party, 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 all night long, party, party, we like to party, party.